I'm Jeanne Petrolle, literature professor and host of the podcast, The Bible and Modern Literature. I teach the Bible in secular rather than religious circles, which means I get to read with people who hold enormously different worldviews. I read with all kinds of religious people and with agnostics and atheists. My atheist reading companions sometimes ask, if God isn't real, how can the stories make sense? If you're atheist or agnostic, you can read the Bible like you read any work of literature. You can think of God as a character, and God is a character. The Bible has all kinds of characters: heroes, anti-heroes, supervillains, renegades, lovers, underdogs who triumph, and superstars who fall. Biblical literature contains almost every literary archetype, doing what literary characters always do: help readers reflect on what it's like to be human. If you're comfortable with philosophical language, think of the God character as a pre-modern way for people to make observations about being, existence. The French philosopher Paul Ricoeur suggested that God is a religious name for what some philosophers call being with a capital B, which refers both to what exists and a person's internal experience of what exists. In other words, the idea of God offers people a poetic way of thinking about how it feels to confront the totality of stuff that exists and stuff that happens. Let me say what I mean by pre-modern. First, we have to define epistemology. Epistemology is the study of knowing. How do we know what we think we know? Our epistemological framework is the set of assumptions that govern our efforts to know the world. Let me hypersimplify intellectual history for a minute into two basic epistemological divisions: pre-modern and modern. Modern thinking revolves around the scientific paradigm, which is now the dominant epistemological framework in industrialized culture. Scientific thinking emphasizes hypothesis, experimentation, verification, replication, and the pursuit of facts. Scientific thinking emerged as a dominant epistemological framework during the scientific revolution, an early modern period starting around 1543 with Copernicus. Early modern thinking morphed into modern thinking during what we call the Age of Reason, or the Age of Enlightenment, starting in the late 1600s and lasting throughout the 1700s. During the Age of Reason, scientists and philosophers began developing methods of inquiry based on logic and other systematic intellectual procedures. Prior to scientific method and rationalist philosophy, pre-modern thinkers contemplated the world mythopoetically, meaning they thought in pictures, using story and character to explore and communicate ideas. Pre-modern thinkers thought about nature, philosophy, psychology, society, everything. But it would never occur to a pre-modern storyteller to aim for factual or historical accuracy. Those epistemological values simply didn't exist yet. In mythopoetic thought, observation and imagination blend freely. There is no imperative to test, verify, or separate feeling from thinking. Pre-modern and modern people approach the act of making knowledge differently, but regardless of epistemological orientation, anyone who's lived past childhood knows that reality can be beautiful, terrible, powerful, overwhelming, violent, and unfathomable. Not coincidentally, that's how the Bible portrays God. The idea of God explores the experience of being in mythopoetic, anthropomorphic terms. If the idea of God, or the word God, makes no sense to you, think of the Bible's God character as a stand-in for being, for reality. Talk of God is talk about the experience of being. That's all I've got for now. Thank you for checking this video out. Please subscribe to the channel if you'd like to learn more about reading the Bible as literature. You can also learn more on my website, www.jeannepetrolle.com. The next video covers who wrote the Bible. Ciao!